right. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. We are going to get started here in a few moments. Hopefully, everyone's having a great week so far. It is hump day, so everything should be downhill from here. Hopefully, you got some great ideas to finish the week strong and even better ideas to unwind, relax, and enjoy your upcoming weekend if that's possible. It's good to see everybody. Hey, Big Mike, Morgan Mixers, thanks for joining. All right, we're going to give everybody a few moments to jump on, join us. I think we got a really good topic we're going to talk about tonight. You know, when did kindness, so the question is, when did kindness become weakness? So we're going to get into the nuances of what that means, what that looks like, why that's even a question. So many challenges in the world right now, right? And one of the last things we need to be confronted with is rude, inhospitable, um, angry people, right? We need to be the kindness. So I used to hear the term all the time, be the change that we'd like to see, or be the change we would desire. So we're going to talk about that. When did kindness become weakness? Once again, welcome to Meaningful Conversations with Dr. Devin Oten. And wherever you are in the country, wherever you are in the world, we've had some people check in with us from Africa, from Europe, Central, South America, Southeast Asia. So I'm really excited about that. Folks are seeing us and consuming our content. And if you haven't had a chance to, please go out and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Meaningful Conversations with Dr. Devin Oten. Hit that bell so you're alerted when we go live, when we drop some new videos, some new content. Make sure you like. Please write us a review, right? And please share if you feel that you're getting something from my podcast, from me going live on Facebook. Please share this with your network, with your sphere of influence, your family, your friends, your colleagues. We'd like to continue to grow. I'd love to be able to get uh, 20 new subscribers on the YouTube channel this week. 20 new subscribers this week, just 20. And I need your help to do that. Alexa, pause. Once again, thank you for joining me tonight on Meaningful Conversations with Dr. Devin Oten. Please keep my lovely wife, Michelle, in your thoughts and prayers. She wasn't feeling too well, so she's upstairs now resting. Hi, Dr. K. Good to see you. Good to see you, my friend, my sister. Yes, so we're talking tonight about when did kindness become weakness? Our overarching thoughts, if you will, tonight is about respect, civility, compassion, empathy, and strength that we're going to have to gather in today's culture. You know, we're living in a culture right now where being rude is often mistaken for being honest, right? Oh, they're just being honest. Or some use the term brutally honest. That's the culture. That's the environment that we're living in, right? If you spend any time um, on social media, you see it all the time. Someone posts something, next thing you know, you got a ton of negative responses to that post. Of course, there are positive responses, but there's always going to be some negative outlash. That's because we're in this environment where kindness is not at the forefront of a lot of people's mind, right? So being loud in today's environment is being strong. You know, humility is viewed as some sort of weakness, some kind of weakness. Compassion is sometimes dismissed as being soft, right? That's some softness that you're dealing with right there because you're being compassionate. Yet people who've had the greatest positive influence, if you think about it, in a lot of our lives, on a lot of our lives, were often the ones who showed or demonstrated kindness, patience, and respect, right? They gave and demonstrated mutual respect. So tonight in this episode, we challenge the idea that kindness is weakness. And we want to remind everyone that true strength is not measured by what a lot of times we see on social media, but it's measured by how we treat people. True strength is measured by how we treat people, right? So uh, we've reached a point where kindness is seen as weakness instead of strength, right? Every day we witness harsh words, online arguments, people going back and forth, right? Impatience while you're driving on the highway. Like, golly, give me a chance, to turn. Give me a chance to respond to the light. I mean, as soon as the light turned, bom, 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 people blowing, just no patience. And there's a growing lack of respect that we experience even in our homes, our workplaces, our schools, in our communities, right? Our children are disrespectful. Our grandchildren, for God's sake, can be disrespectful. Our significant other, our husband, or wife, we can be disrespectful. We're under so much stress, under so much pressure. We go to snapping, and sometimes we don't even realize that we're being disrespectful, right? So we got to understand that the strongest people aren't always the loudest. The strongest people aren't always the loudest, the boldest. So, in this episode of Meaningful Conversation, we're going to explore why kindness still matters. Kindness is still important. How respect, mutual respect, builds stronger, sustainable relationships. And why choosing compassion requires far more courage than choosing conflict. Man, it's a lot easier to just say, you know what? I'm not going to think about it, think it through, consider it. I'm just going to snap. It takes wisdom, knowledge, compassion to choose, hey, I'm going to be courageous. I'm going to choose the high road. That's the term we used to use back in the day, choosing the high road, as opposed to choosing conflict. Man, some people thrive. They get energized off of negative energy, off of conflict. And what I've learned to do, my brothers and sisters, man, when that negative energy comes up, I've decided, you know what? I'm just going to walk away. I'm not going to get into conflict. I'm not going to get into an argument, shout match, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to walk away, give the other person a chance to cool down, settle down. I'm going to cool down, settle down. And maybe at some point, cooler heads will prevail and we can come back, talk, and have a discussion, right? A mutual, respectful discussion. Yes, let's see. Dr. K says, you can be a a-hole, but people will always remember how you treat them, good and bad. Definitely, definitely, absolutely. All right, Cousin Teresa, Brother Abraham, good to see you. So tonight we're talking about, why did we decide that being kindness represents weakness? I see it, young men talking about being out in the dating environment, and how if they be kind to a young woman, she will see that as weakness and think he's a simp, or think he's a goofball or a pushover, right? As opposed to understanding that a man is supposed to be kind to a woman. I would imagine, especially if you're just meeting her, right? You're just starting to get to know her. But sometimes they can't even be nice in that dating environment because it's seen as weakness. Now I'm going to try and take advantage of you because I think you are weak because you showed some kindness. So tonight we want to ask the question, when did kindness become weakness? Somewhere along the way, we started celebrating people who are harsh. Oh boy, she told him off. Oh boy, he told him off. and we respect that more, right? When someone goes off, treats someone harshly, we've come to be quick to criticize, quick to argue, quick to dismiss someone, right? Dismiss their point of view, or their way of seeing things, their worldview, but slow to encourage at the same time, slow to encourage, slow to forgive, slow to listen. And it makes me wonder, have we forgotten that some of the strongest people we've ever known were also some of the kindest people that we've ever met? Tonight, let's have a conversation about why kindness still matters. We live in a culture of constant reaction. That's the word I'm looking for. We live in an environment of constant reaction. Soon as someone posts something, right, on social media, man, there's these immediate and quick responses. Oh, you saying that because of this? Oh, you really don't even know what you're talking about, right? And of course, we do have some people on social media, they are talking about some stuff that they don't have a good working knowledge of. They may not be as versed in certain things, and they're actually trying to generate views. It's called clickbait, right? They're trying to cause some sort of conflict so they can get their views up. That's the environment that we live in. So social media rewards those quick responses. That's why people are trying to figure out the next skit, the next wow, crazy thing to say that will get people clicking and sharing the content that they're putting out there. The news cycle, it rewards outrage, right? I can remember growing up, everything I saw on television, on the news as a kid, was something negative happening in my community that was shaping my worldview, right? As a kid, man, I'm thinking, golly, the world, the city is overrun with Black people doing negative stuff because that's what they would show on the news, conditioning, generations of people on how to think and view the world. When you can look at the data, look at the statistics, my community does not represent the vast majority of the stuff they were showing on television. But the news cycle, it rewards outrage. The algorithms, they reward conflict. Hey, cuz, I see cousin Alicia join. Good to see you. But real relationships are built through patience. Have we become more interested in winning arguments than strengthening relationships? I want you to think about that. A lot of times we are more concerned about being right, about winning an argument, as opposed to building strong relationships, building value in other people, that they may reciprocate that and build value back into us. And we build these strong, positive relationships. So kindness is not the same as weakness. Kindness doesn't mean avoiding hard conversations. It doesn't mean allowing disrespect. It doesn't mean having no boundaries. Dr. K, one of your key subject matters that you speak about is those boundaries, making sure you establish good, healthy boundaries. But it doesn't mean having no boundaries. Kindness doesn't mean that you do not have boundaries. You can still be kind and set boundaries, right? You're in a conversation with someone, in a relationship with someone, or trying to build and establish a relationship with someone, and they are going across that line, going across your boundary. It's okay to say, oh, hold up, hold up. I know we're just getting to know each other. We don't know each other that well, but listen, that's not a road that we're going to go down as we establish this relationship, right? And that's not being harsh. That's just setting boundaries. But there is a way to effectively do that, right? So kindness means treating people with dignity, even when you disagree. I want to say that again. Kindness means treating people with dignity, even when we disagree. You hear the term all the time, let's agree to disagree, right? Let's agree to disagree. Why? Because it means that we can disagree and we can still be civil. We can still be kind to each other. We can still have meaningful conversations, engagement, uh, back and forth, candor, whatever you want to call it. We can do that by being respectful and being kind. So, respect is not agreement. I want you to remember this. Respect is not agreement. Respect is recognizing another person's humanity. Respect is not agreement. Respect is recognizing another person's humanity. So, the ripple effect of kindness. I love this. The ripple effect of kindness. I hear it all the time. Play it forward, right? Yes, Dr. Kidd, compromising. Yes. Life is about compromise, right? Especially if you're in a relationship, some sort of partnership. Man, it's about compromise because you got two or more different people, and all of those people are going to have varying opinions, varying views of seeing how this can effectively be done. So life is about compromise, and we must continue to show each other respect throughout those types of engagements. So the ripple effect of kindness. One encouraging word can change someone's day. How many of us, how many of you, I know I have, it happens all the time, right? Well, you just say something to someone and they may not say it right then and there. They may come back a day later, an hour later, a week later, a month later. It may be several months later. And they'll tell you, you know what? You told me one day such and such, and you have no idea. I was going through something at that moment. I felt despair. I was discouraged. I didn't know how I was going to continue. I didn't know what the next step should be. And you said something that lifted my spirits. It literally changed my day. I was able to regroup, think about it, pray about it, consider it, whatever the case may be. And I made a good decision because you shared a word with me that really encouraged me, really changed the wave, the atmosphere in which I was in at that moment. So, one encouraging word, this is a ripple effect of being kind, right? Expressing kindness to people is one word can change someone's day. One act of grace can restore hope, right? One act of grace. And remember, grace is that unmerited, undeserved, unearned favor. We get that from God above every single day. Why should we extend that same thing to others? So one act of grace can restore someone's hope. One mentor can change a life. I don't know about you, but I've had several mentors who have done some incredible things to change my life, right? Yes, Dr. K, a simple smile at someone can make a difference, right? A simple smile. I was taught where we're from in New Orleans, our families taught us, our elders taught us to speak to everyone, even if they don't speak to you. Say hello, say good morning, say good afternoon, say good evening, and a lot of times we would say, hey, nah, you know, just to let people know we see them, we recognize them, right? And you go to some places around the country, people do not speak to each other. People, you can be on the sidewalk in your neighborhood. In this neighborhood in which I live, I can be on the sidewalk walking, and my neighbor, if I don't speak, certain neighbors, if I don't speak, they will not speak. But of course, I've been trained to speak. Good morning. How are you? It's a beautiful day. Sun is shining. It's going to get hot today. Make sure you hydrate. Yes. Thank God for his grace. I see my wife has jumped on. Thank God for his grace. Yes. So kindness spreads just as quickly as negativity if we're willing to practice it. So a key is, what are we modeling for the next generation? Like I just said, my parents, grandparents, elders, they taught us to speak. So if children are not speaking, maybe they're not being taught, right? To speak. It's not being modeled in front of them. Modeling is so important in this environment in which we live, this time, this modern time in which we live. Modeling the right thing is so critically important. Children watch how adults treat people. Your children are watching you. They're watching you. Yes, lack of home training. Yes, your children, grandchildren, young people around you, people you may be mentoring, they are watching how you treat restaurant workers. You go into a restaurant, you being all snooty and nasty, with the people in the restaurant. Anyone who's ever gone to a meal with me at a restaurant, one of the first things I ask is, what's your name? Because I want to address you by your name. Okay. Some people say, why'd you ask for the name? Why do you do that? Because it shows respect. It shows humility. It recognizes the other person's humanity who's serving you, right? So your children are watching how you treat restaurant workers when you go in a restaurant. They're treating how you treat their teachers. Your children they're watching how you treat your spouse, how you treat your husband, how you treat your wife. They're watching how you treat strangers. They're watching how you treat your coworkers. Before they learn from our words, they learn from our example, right? Before our children learn from our words, they learn from our example. So the point that I'm making in this particular segment is kindness is taught long before it's expected. Think about that. Kindness is taught long before it's expected. Rebuilding. We have to rebuild a culture of respect. This is going to be hard, my brothers and sisters, for you and I to do, but we have to do it. We have to rebuild a culture of respect and kindness because the internet is undefeated. The internet is out of control. The internet is wild, right? People are wild on the internet. I mean, no respect, no kindness. Talk to each other and engage with each other in all sorts of disrespectful ways. But I believe it can be done. Hey, Brother Jones, good to see you. Yes, so I believe, we look at things and we say it's difficult, maybe even look at it and say it's impossible. But I believe, of course, this is my faith speaking, that all things are possible with God, right? And I believe we can rebuild a culture of respect and a culture of kindness. Just remember, if we can imagine if we were just being intentional, that's one of your key words there, Dr. K, intentionality. If we would be intentional, imagine if we were intentionally doing these sorts of things. Thank people more often. Be thankful. Thank people more often. Listen without interrupting. Disagree, but disagree respectfully. You don't have to slam somebody because you disagree. Maybe it's an uneducated, ignorant point that the person is making, but that still doesn't give us the right to be disrespectful, right? So imagine if we were intentional and we encourage someone every day. Being intentional and encouraging someone every day. If we assume good intentions before bad motives. I remember when I was pastoring, I used to tell our church that all the time, you have to look for the good in people, right? Not always on the defensive looking for the worst in people, right? So assume good intentions before you consider that, hey, this person may have bad or negative motives. So communities change, I've learned. I've done a lot of community work. I teach social reform for Cornell University in their online adult continuing education program. And in that social reform, what I have learned in my own experience and also from my training and education, that communities change one interaction at a time. I know we want these large sweeping changes to take place, but man, all it takes is for one person to push it forward, to move it forward, right? So remember that, excuse me. Communities change one kind action at a time. So we've come to the part where we do a faith perspective, and tonight's text, a scriptural text that I want to use is Ephesians 4:32. It says, "Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as God in Christ forgave you." I want to say that again. The faith perspective as we talk about kindness. Uh, Ephesians 4:32. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as Christ in God forgave you. So, what this text is telling me is kindness is not weakness. It's actually evidence of spiritual maturity. Okay? According to this text, kindness is not weakness. Weakness is not represented in this. What's represented in this is evidence that you are mature spiritually. So I want you to think about a couple questions. We have some questions that we share each week for everyone to consider. Who showed you extraordinary kindness that you still remember? I want you to think about that. Who in your life? I mean, even today, someone could have showed you some extreme level of kindness. But of course, we have those events in our lives where someone came, showed us kindness, and it really changed our life. It changed our perspective. It changed our way of seeing things. Think about that for a minute. When we ask these questions, I want you to write those questions down, write those answers down, because I want you to think about how someone showed you kindness. So it's your turn now. You have to show a great level of kindness to someone else. And you can share in the chat if you'd like. If you have some thoughts on that, please share that in the chat. The next question: how can we teach children that respect is strength, it's character, right? As opposed to some weakness, right? So, how can we teach children that respect is a strength? I tell you, one of the things we can do, when we're talking and conversing with them, and when they make a mistake, as opposed to us always ready to pile on, if we would stop and say, you know what you said was interesting. It may not have been, correct. However, you had the courage to come forward and say it. Now let's talk about why that's not the correct way to do it, because of this, that, and the other. Yes, Dr. K, by leading by example. Yes, leading by example. Our children see us respecting other people, they will mimic that behavior because we are modeling that behavior, right? As we talked about earlier. Another question: what act of kindness can you intentionally show this week? Think about it. An act of kindness that you can show this week. I want you to write that down. And I want you to be thinking about that, not just tonight, maybe tomorrow. You can think about that, man. What act of kindness can I intentionally show to someone this week? It may be someone on your job who's struggling right now with an assignment, with some task. Excuse me. It could be someone in your family that has some challenges before them that you're aware of. How could you be intentional and show kindness to those individuals this week? Next question: have you ever mistaken someone's kindness for weakness? Have you ever mistaken someone's kindness for weakness? I tell you, a good portion of us have probably experienced this, right? Where we took someone's kindness for weakness, said something out of turn, and that person snapped on you and got you straight, got you right, got you on the right path, the right track, right? Because you had mistaken their kindness for some sort of weakness, right? So there's one thing we can do this week. One thing I want to throw out some suggestions here. Yes, let me see. Dr. K said, I haven't because I tried to look to the intention and not the action. Let's see, giving grace to people that don't know that they need it. Absolutely. Yes. So, one thing we can do this week, I want you to intentionally encourage 3 people. Let me see. My wife says, I try not to take anyone's kindness for weakness. It's a good character, good trait, not to take anyone's kindness for weakness. Okay, so one thing we can do this week. This week, I want you to intentionally find 3 people that you can encourage. Find 3 people that you can encourage. Not because they asked, not because they earned it. Simply think about it this way. Everyone needs to know they matter. I can't get off of this subject matter. I just can't get off of it. People need to know that they matter. People need to know that they bring value. And we dismiss people so very often that we discourage people, right? And we need to put ourselves in the frame of mind, if you will, that people need to know that they matter. People need to know that they have value. They bring value. You know, we have people committing suicide, people checking out on life because no one is being intentional about encouraging them, lifting them up, right? And helping them and supporting them in some way. So, how can you do that? You can send a text, you can send an email, write a note, a little sticky note, and put it on their desk, put it on the door. If it's a family member of their bedroom door, write a note, you know, say thank you. Say thank you. Let me see. Michelle said, I did it today. It was a DV incident, and I encouraged a person that deserved better for her and her daughter. Yes, yes, yes. So write a note. Say thank you to people. Tell someone that you're proud of them. Tell someone that you're proud of them. Small acts of kindness, I've learned, often leave the biggest impact. Just those small acts of kindness can leave a big impression, a huge impact on someone's life. So, kindness doesn't make you less powerful, it makes your influence more lasting. The strongest leaders, they don't intimidate people, they inspire people. Respect costs nothing, but its value is priceless. Never underestimate the impact that someone will feel seen, recognized, valued because of your kindness. Never underestimate that. So remember this too, and you know this if you go on social media. The world has enough critics. We got enough critics. We got enough pundits out there. We need some people who know how to build people up, right? This is how you make a community strong, by building it up, not tearing it down. Let's see. Even if you think they don't deserve, everybody needs that boost of encouragement. Yes. Yes, everyone needs that. You may think they're doing well, you may think everything is going well, but that little act of kindness, those kind words can change the trajectory of someone's day or even someone's life. So before we ask why the world feels like such a cold place, like a distant place, there's It's hard to connect with people. It's hard to develop and build good relationships with people. We need to ask ourselves, what kind of warmth are we bringing into the world, into the situation, into the workplace, into our homes, into our places of worship, right? The places, when I go and visit a church, one of the first things I'm looking at the first line of defense. That's the greeters and the ushers, and are they warm? Do they have a smile? Are they welcoming? Do they greet you as you walk in the door? That makes a big impact on people. Some people will never return and visit a place or a house of worship because the first line of defense, the greeters, the ushers, did not have a kind disposition when people walk in the door. So, what are you bringing? What warmth are you bringing? In every conversation, in every interaction, every opportunity that presents itself to encourage someone, it's a chance, to make our homes, our workplaces, our communities just a little bit better. Remember, just a little bit. We just need folks to put in a little bit of effort. If everyone puts in a little bit of effort, it will make a huge, gigantic impact. So, kindness won't solve every problem. That's not what I'm saying tonight. Kindness will not solve every problem, but it can change someone's day. That's all we aiming at in tonight's discussion. And sometimes changing someone's day is the beginning of changing someone's life. And guess what? It'll change your life as well, because the scripture says, he who waters will also be watered. So thank you once again for joining me for another conversation, a meaningful conversation, that is. If you haven't had a chance to go out to my YouTube channel, Meaningful Conversations with Dr. Devin M. Oten Sr., please go out, subscribe, hit that bell so you're notified when I go live or drop some content, some videos. Please please review on the channel. And if I can get 20 people before week's end to go to the YouTube channel and subscribe, that would be a major milestone for us. So if you can encourage your friends, your family, your colleagues, your sphere of influence to go out to the page and subscribe, that would really be appreciated. Yes, thank you, Dr. K. Thank you for sharing your kindness and knowledge. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. K, for joining us and being a part of the conversation tonight, being so engaging with the content tonight. So do that favor for me. Get me 20 folks who will go out and subscribe to the channel. So if this episode has encouraged you in any way, share it with someone who has made a difference in your life, through some simple acts of kindness. Let's become a people who lead with strength, serve with humility, and treat others with dignity. So until next time, stay focused, stay faithful, and keep becoming the person you're called to be. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night, and I'll see you soon.